Hello, friends. Continuing today's series, or the current series on leadership, today I'm going to dwell on the topic of emotional intelligence for leaders. A great leader definitely needs to be technically proficient. Whichever, by technically, I don't mean anything in the engineering sense, but whether you are from the accounts, whatever is your area of operation, you need to be technically proficient. However, as I've often said in many talks of mine, that it is not your aptitude, but it is your attitude that will determine your altitude. So technical proficiency alone was actually the sole criteria of judging a leader in the ages gone by. But today, that's not true anymore. Today, to be a great leader, one needs to know how to speak to people. One needs to care about them. And one needs to be able to motivate them. A leader is now not just somebody who is technically proficient. So while even today technical proficiency is a must, and therefore good leadership begins with a superior IQ, but to become a great leader, not just remain good, to become a great leader, one requires, besides a high IQ, also a very high EQ, an emotional quotient, not just an intelligence quotient. And a high IQ is the result of a different kind of intelligence, and which is what we call emotional intelligence, or the EI. So a leader today, to become great, needs to have a high EI, which leads to a high EQ. And the higher the degree of EI, the more successful he is, notwithstanding his IQ or his technical capabilities. Now, very often we wonder, okay, I've learned, I've studied, I'm a graduate, I've done this, I've done that, I'm one of the best in my field, and yet why am I not a great leader? It's because the EQ factor is missing. Now, fortunately for all of us, EQ, which is determined by your EI, is something that is possible to develop. You don't have to be born with it. A lot of times we say IQ is something that you're born with, how many gray cells you have up there. But that too, trust me, can be developed. But EI can definitely be developed. You don't have to be born, or generally you're not born with a high EI. EI is something that is trainable and developable. And hence, all of us can become successful leaders if we are willing and if we are open to training ourselves and change ourselves so that we develop the right degree of emotional intelligence that one needs. And to be a great leader, as I said, you need a high level of EQ. And there are some things that you can do to up that level of EQ. And one of the first things, it's all about emotion, emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. And therefore, one of the first things that a great leader would need to learn is to keep the emotions on a leash. Often, those emotions will try to pull you in different directions. But don't let go of the leash, nor give it too much of a ropeway for it to go away from you in a different direction. You need to develop the ability to recognize what is right, what is the right path and reaction that you should take at that stage. And you have to be the one who chooses the way that you want to go. Don't let your emotions reign over you. You are the boss. You are the one who controls your emotions. And don't forget that. Don't let your emotions take control of how you react. But you need to listen to your emotions, because there is always things to be learned when you listen. And listen to your emotions. Sometimes they may be dragging you away, trying to run astray from your planned path for a very valid reason. So you need to listen to them. But at the end of the day, you analyze it, you determine what is right. Remember, you are the boss, and do not let those emotions take control. But if those emotions, after your thinking and analysis, tells you that, yeah, I need to change my emotion, please go ahead and do it. So having said this, I think the next thing one needs to remember is that you need to be empathetic to have a high EQ. Now, I've been asked sometimes, who is an empathetic person? And an empath, in very simple layman's language, is someone who experiences the other person's emotions and reacts to those experiences with that other person the way he would react for himself. Basically, putting himself in that person's shoes. So you need to be empathetic. And remember, empathy is the starting point of developing a high level of EI, emotional intelligence. If you go by definitions, the Oxford Language definition for EI, emotional intelligence, is that emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, to be able to control, to be able to express your emotions, and to be able to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically. So by definition, empathy is a core requirement for a higher EI. Another thing that you need to be aware of to have a higher EQ is you need to be socially aware. What I mean here is that you need to be able to understand, find out, and be aware of how other people perceive you. And why do you need to do this? Because if other people perceive you in a particular way and see your actions, which send out the message that you are not a person with a high emotional intelligence or a high emotional quotient, you might go astray. But knowing how others perceive you will help you to alter or correct your actions, your words, the tone in which you speak to people. You might be saying something fantastic, but if your tone is not right, it can easily be misinterpreted, maybe as sarcasm for all you know. It will help you to develop the right attitude and the right approach with your behavior when it comes to interacting with other people, especially your team members. There are other points to be remembered also, and I'll quickly go through them. One is be immune to offense. You are in a leadership position, but that does not mean that you can get offended if somebody tells you something. That person may be telling you in good faith. That person may genuinely be pointing out something where you need to adapt and change. So be immune to offense. When somebody comments, please look at it positively, listen and try to understand what that person is saying. And whenever a conflict arises between you and a team member or between two team members where you're not even involved, but you come to know about it, nip it in the bud. Don't let it grow, because the minute it grows, it becomes even more exponentially difficult to control and resolve that challenge. Always, when communicating, when talking to somebody, use the right words. In fact, they need not be words that are defined somewhere on Google as the right words to use to improve your EQ. Build your own. I can't say it here, but there are certain words which, when conveyed, will explain the meaning more implicitly and more clearly than any definition you would find in the Oxford language. So use the right words, depending on your relationship, of course, and build your emotional work bank. You have to create your word bank where all the emotional words or phrases that you think convey things better are a part of that, which you go and open and refer to whenever needed. Genuinely care about people. Be positive and an eternal optimist. Everybody loves somebody who is positive and optimistic. And this also helps your team to feel better, knowing that you are optimistic about something. Listen, not hear. I don't know how many times I've said this. I think I must stop saying that also. Listen, not hear. Care. And of course, be empathetic. Be sincere in all your interactions with everybody. Be genuinely interested when you're interacting with them. Don't just try to be interesting. Very often we tend to do that. Step out of your comfort zone, not only as far as work is concerned, or putting in long hours or thinking overtime. No. Step out of your comfort zone when it comes into interaction with others. That is something that will give you a big boost in your EI, the way others perceive you. And remember, at work and otherwise, setbacks always happen. It's a given. If no setbacks happen, you're doing something wrong. Trust me. So setbacks always happen. But let not any setback, no matter how serious or how big it is, make you lose your focus on your vision and your goals. Do not let that happen. Be very generous. By generous, I don't mean dole out money and fruits and various things to people. I don't mean materialistically generous. Share information and knowledge. That's a great way to be generous. But more importantly, share your ideas and thoughts with the others. Share your appreciation for the others, especially when they go above and beyond to help you achieve, you and the team help achieve your goals and move closer towards it. Especially when a team member does something that is way above, make sure you recognize it and appreciate him and laud, clap for him. Now, to be a really great leader, there are some questions you need to ask yourself and introspect literally every single day, because you cannot derail that path at all. So some of the typical questions that you should ask. Have you empowered your team enough? You're expecting them to do tasks. You're delegating. Have you empowered them enough? Are you listening and understanding what the team is saying and not just hearing? Very often what happens is that the minute somebody starts talking, you start planning your response. You don't listen then. You're basically preparing a response. And therefore, at the end of the day, maybe your response doesn't make sense. Happens very often. I've done it myself. Always ask yourself, did you recognize and appreciate what I just told you when a team member or anybody else has done something that is way beyond what was expected of him, way beyond his pay scale, way beyond what was expected of him. He has bent himself backwards, so to say. When you delegate, always ask yourself the question, are you assisting and supporting the team member to be able to do the task, and therefore at the end of the day, to help him achieve his goal? Always be sure that you are very clear and consistent when it comes to conveying your vision and goals to every single team member. If necessary, do a one-on-one with some of the team members who might need some clarity if they ask you. But be sure that you're very clear and consistent. And always make sure that your communication with every member of the team is a two-way communication. It shouldn't just about you telling them what to do. Listen to them, listen to their challenges, listen to their ideas, even if they seem stupid to you. You never know when that person is going to come up with a brilliant idea which will make your whole project way above and beyond. Okay. Encourage out-of-the-box thinking. We often don't let people do this. We don't even give them a time to do this. So encourage out-of-the-box thinking and appreciate new ideas, even if they fail. At least he's making an effort. He's thinking about how to do something better. Every idea doesn't always succeed. React positively. We already mentioned that, especially in times of setbacks and failures. Finally, always check whether you are on the same page with every member, every individual member of the team, not just with the team on the whole. So to wind up, as I said in the beginning, a high level of EI is possible to develop. And in this episode, I think I have mentioned a good number of pointers and ideas and thoughts on how you can go about developing a higher emotional intelligence and hence a higher emotional quotient. Intelligence quotient is important. That's where leadership starts. If you don't have IQ, if you don't have the technical proficiency, you're not going to become a senior leader in the corporate sense of the word. But in today's world, to be a true leader, you need to have a good EQ besides just the IQ. Because at the end of the day, as I said in the beginning and very often otherwise, it is not your aptitude, but it is your attitude. And EQ is all about attitude. IQ is about aptitude. It is not your aptitude, but your attitude that will determine your altitude. And if you develop the right attitude and you have a great aptitude, the sky is the limit. You're going to get there. You're going to be there right on top, towering above everybody else. So go ahead, make your life, enjoy, but at the same time, be a great leader. Thank you.